But then she went on to describe the Prophet Muhammad Ma'bad, and in that hadith she just described that he was not too tall. And it's very interesting what she said in the hadith, لا يئس من الطول, something like this. Like he doesn't suffer from being too tall. Which shows you an insight, even if the hadith is weak, that the Arabs of the day considered extreme height to be aib, actually, considered it to be a deformity of some sorts. That's true. You'll be surprised, because nowadays, especially in, like, I don't know, whatever, dating culture, whatever, people consider taller people to be, it's the taller you are, the better you are, effectively. You can never be too tall. There's no such thing as too tall. Even if you're 7 foot tall, you got street cred. You know, for some reason, I don't know what it is, but we'll come to that in a second. But the point is that the Arabs at the time considered being too tall to be some kind of, doesn't look right, doesn't look proportionate, because they had this idea of proportionality, probably more in line with what Aristotle was saying, which is that symmetry and proportionality and stuff. When you're tall, you know, you're lanky, your legs are long. You know what I mean? Your legs are usually longer than it. Most tall people, their legs are longer than the upper body. So there's that degree of improportionality, there's that degree of unusuality. So she said, لا يئس من الطول. He's not too, he doesn't suffer from, effectively, doesn't suffer from being too tall. And in that hadith, she said that he has a parting between his eyebrows. So he doesn't have a monobrow. He, in fact, has a parting between his two eyebrows. And she mentions many different things. One of the things that she mentions, and is also mentioned in many of the hadiths which we'll read together, is that he had big hands and big feet. And that's a fantastic quality. It's so functional, and we'll come to the functionality of it. For any sport, and many people know that, it's having big hands and big, strong hands and feet is actually one of the best things you can have. You can grip someone, you can grab someone, especially if you're using a sword. Like if you're using artillery and a shield and a sword and stuff like that. But it's also, the companions described it as his hands being like silk. Like it was soft, but it was big at the same time. I can't imagine a better combination. Now, honestly, I mean, this, I wish, I mean, I've got big hands only because I'm, big. But imagine having like bigger hands for your body. Do you know what I mean? It does, if you've seen how that looks, it looks really good. And when someone clenches their fist in that situation, their fist looks big and chunky, which means that if you want to inflict damage of any kind of sorts, then it's actually good for that reason. So these are some of the characteristics of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His complexion was, they say he was light brown. Okay, now obviously the words used in the Azhar and Abyad, and it's not actually the Caucasian. There's no chance he was Caucasian. Yani. Some people try and say, well, Abyad, and then they consider a white man. There's no way the Prophet ﷺ, being an Arab, had that complexion. The Arabs, in fact, call that as Banu al-Asfar. The people of the Romans, they called them the yellow, effectively, yellow man. Because the Caucasian skin tone is different to the Azhar or the Abyad or the lighter skin tones in the Arabs. So he said that, I mean, a lot of and we'll come to it, but a lot of the commentaries say that he had a reddish tinge. Now, if he had a reddish tinge, for example, if you look at my color, this is darker than the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because there's no reddish tinge that I have. I have more African, slightly African qualities. So consider, like, I don't know, maybe I'll put the camera at somebody, but there's people in this room that have, maybe yourself, I would say, like your kind of skin color. not to put you on the spot, but it's kind of like where you can see the redness a little bit as well. But then if you get a tan, you'll be dark as me. So you have the propensity to be as dark as me if you put yourself under the sun. But that's not your natural skin color. That makes sense. Because your natural skin color, you have a little bit of redness. For that redness to appear, you can't be like going on to almost the black man's skin color. Almost there. It's not there. But it's not also the white man. So you can see, subhanAllah, there's proportionality there, or at least there's middle ground there as well, because the Prophet ﷺ was sent for all people. So for the white man and the black man, so he's somewhere in the middle. Yes.
I'm also 5'9".
Oh, okay, so mashallah, subhanallah. But your shoulders are not that wide.
Oh man.
And your hands are quite small as well. So anyway,
it's unnecessary. But yeah.
I'm only kidding.
Yeah, just really quiet.
No, but yeah. So let's. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna open this book up and actually read the hadith. All right. Unless someone wants to volunteer to read. I don't mind. Does someone want to volunteer to read? Do you wanna?
Nah.
Do you want to volunteer to read, bro?
It's difficult for me to read.
Oh, okay. That's no problem. I'll read it for you. I'm going to read just some hadiths, just because I think we need to get into the habit, even if it's in English language or some translation of hadith. These are on Bukhari and they're all strong. So I'm going to read the things that there's no doubt about, because then we can have no doubt about it. Allah's Messenger ﷺ was neither very tall of stature nor short. His skin was neither pale white nor tawny, and his hair was neither crispy curled nor lank. Allah, exalted is He, sent him to serve as His messenger at the end of 40 years of his life. So he stayed in Mecca for 10 years and Medina for 10 years, and Allah took him onto Himself at the end of 60 years with fewer than 20 white hairs on his head and his beard. So he had white hairs. Obviously, that's a lot of the companions. In fact, Shamal al-Tirmidhi, they would actually count the amount of white hairs he had on his beard and his hair. So,
How
yeah.
big is the writing? I can read it. Let me see.
Yeah, faddal, bro. You can read the second hadith.
Let me see.
Yeah.
That should be fine.
Yeah, just read the second
Shall I read
hadith.
from there?
Yeah, that's fine.
We can try.
He says 10 years in Mecca and 10 years in Medina.
Is
Where
that
am I
what it
reading
said?
from?
Yeah,
13 in Mecca. and 10 in
Yeah,
Medina.
sure. Maybe there was just like, what do you
3
call it?
years in
Approximating. Yeah, approximating. A lot of them say
Yeah.
this kind of things.
But exactly, it's 13 in Mecca and
Yeah,
10
yeah.
in Medina.
That's what it is, yeah.
23 after the birth.
Which one am I reading?
Just where it says 2. Can you see it? The second
we
one.
have been told by Humayd ibn Mas'ada al-Basri.
Yeah,
We have been told by Abd al-Wahhab
yeah,
al-Thaqafi
yeah.
on the authority of Humayd that Anas bin Malik said, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was of medium height, neither tall nor short. He was handsome physique, and his hair was neither crisply curled nor smooth, brown of color. When he walked, he used to stride confidently.
Yes, I like that. Was it Yataki or what's the, I don't know the Arabic, I need to look at it, but it's Yatakaffa'u. Yes, so this I was really, one of the really interesting things about the Prophet ﷺ is to look at how he used to walk. Because the way he used to
was
walk,
fast.
it used to be fast paced, and it used to be confident. This, by the way, someone's walk says a lot about them. Honestly, the way, obviously the Quran says, وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا إِنَّكَ لَن تَخْرِقَ الْأَرْضَ وَلَن تَبْلُغَ الْجِبَالَ طُولًا. Like, you don't walk in the earth arrogantly, because you're not going to crack the earth and you're not going to reach the mountains in height. Meaning, humble yourself, right? And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to walk in a manner that was confident, that even the Sahaba used to say that he looks like he was coming down from a mountain or from a hill or something like that. So there was a moving, fast paced, but at the same time it wasn't arrogant. No one has ever said that it looked arrogant or kibr or muta'ajjib bi nafsi or any of these things, grandiosity. To get that, the walk right, of how a human being walks, it says a lot about their temperament. He's not walking with his chest out. He's not walking with his chest out. He's not walking like, with a bop. He's not doing any of that. No, honestly. But he's at the same time, he's not doing it, but at the same time, he's not walking meekly, weakly, pretending to be overly humble, but actually it's a weak walk. And you see that as well. I mean, you see the two extremes. You see people walking like this, and to get the walk right. Nowadays, people analyze how people walk. So there's a lot of videos I watched online on Putin. I don't know why, but he's got a very specific walk. People are looking at it. He puts one hand in his pocket and he swings the other hand. Like, do you know what I mean? People say, why does he do that and whatever? But he's trying to get that balance, but it looks a bit odd. He's a statesman. He's probably been advised by lots of people. He wants to appear strong, but not arrogant. Yeah. But he ends up looking a bit like a freak because he's swinging his hand like a pendulum. It's a bit awkward. But to get the walk right as a man, the Prophet ﷺ, his walk was so noticeable that the Sahaba would mention about his walk. Another thing which we're going to cover inshallah in the hadith is when the Prophet went to a different environment, he'd look around. He's very aware of his environment. So he'd look around, he'd look this and that. Do you know what I mean? Because being in a place and you don't know what you're doing and you put your head down and it's actually first of all dangerous. Because you don't know what, nowadays we're living in an unpredictable environment, military, this and that, knife crime, whatever it is. Doing that is actually dangerous, especially going out with your family. The Prophet ﷺ used to go somewhere with his friends or whatever, he used to look around, see, okay, where are the hazards here? Where am I? How am I situated? These are all very important things for a man or a woman to do in following the Prophet ﷺ's footsteps. Do you want to read the next hadith, Ali?
Also, when it comes to walking,
Yeah.
can we not give it like putting it in its right place? Because there were remember that, Sheikh, maybe you can help us. There was a companion who was walking arrogantly in war, and one of the companions said, Allah hates this walk, but he said not in this context,
Yeah.
because we're facing the enemy. So can we not say like in specific context where argument's sake, for example,
Enemies of Islam.
when we're confronting, let's say, the enemies of Islam, argument's sake, like me and Hijab went to a freedom of speech event, you know, and then Hijab had to put his gum shield and, you know, had to start walking, you know, until he got punched in the face, you know, and then I ran away.
We'll talk about courage and something else.
no, that was
will
tactical retreat. So basically, Sheikh, wouldn't you say, for example, in certain circumstances, that to do that is not arrogance? And I think the Prophet ﷺ would have, I'm sure, how he walked in war. Do you think he will be like, you know, to that condition, that situation that you're in?
Yeah, it depends on the context.
Yeah.
In certain contexts, for example, a person needs to show his strength. The Prophet ﷺ, after Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, the next year they came back to Mecca, what they call Umrat al-Qadiyya or Umrat al-Qada. So the Prophet ﷺ advised the companions to show strength when they wear the ihram, you know,
right shoulder,
yeah, and they would make all of the tawaf a bit hasty. Just because there was a widespread between Quraysh that the people of Medina come to you weakened by the fever of Medina. So the Prophet ﷺ wanted to show something. So that emphasized the point. And as you mentioned, there's one companion, Abu Dujana, was actually on his horse and was
making the horse.
making the horse in an arrogant way. So the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the hadith that Allah Azza wa Jal dislikes this way of walking except in this situation or this scenery. Yeah.
And is it also, Sheikh, you know, was it Muawiyah when he was conquering Egypt? I can't remember who he was when they were asking him. I think he was not indulged, but like, you know, some materialism.
Yeah, so Umar,
Was it?
Yeah, so Umar al-Khattab, when he met Muawiyah in Sham,
Yes.
he frowned a bit. He was displeased with the fact that Muawiyah had, let's say, big castles, material. So, he asked him, what are you doing? So he told him, because we are on the borders of Islam, we have to show strength.
Yeah.
So Umar al-Khattab told him, you know best about the situation.
Oh.
So that also shows something about it.
Yeah.
Can we get one more hadith?
Yeah, sure. So we have been told by Muhammad ibn Bashar al-Abdi, we have been told by Muhammad ibn Jafar, according to Shuba ibn Ishaq, said, I heard, sorry Sheikh, I destroyed the names here, please forgive me. I heard Al-Bara ibn Azib say, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, was neither curly nor lank-haired, of medium height, broad-shouldered, with luxuriant hair, reaching the lobes of his ears, wearing a red suit of clothes. I have never seen anything more beautiful than him.
And a lot of the Sahaba said that when there was a day where the Prophet, or more than one occasion, when he was wearing this kind of red kind of cloak that he'd put on himself. When he came out, looking as he does with that cloak on, they said many of them were just like, I've never seen anything better than that.
Julius Caesar used to wear the red cloak in battle as well.
Really?
Yeah, he put it on deliberately.
Yeah,
No, the Caesar would put it on to say, look, I'm the man. Come and get me, yeah.
Really?
That would made his increased his respect to him.
Doesn't that like contradict what the Prophet actually was? Like, he was very humble and
No, sure. I mean, the red wasn't meant to indicate like Caesar that come and get me. There was other things the Prophet ﷺ did that would indicate that he was courageous, which we're going to come to on the battlefield. But the red is just, for example, there are many narrations about what the Prophet ﷺ used to wear. So the red cloak was one of the things that have been transmitted by a lot of people. But also there was a particular piece of clothing, Yemeni clothing, which was striped clothes. It was striped. And that's what I mentioned Shama'il al-Muhammadiyya as well. Which is also like, so it shows you he had different styles. So one time you were in the red, sometimes he's wearing the striped. And that's why it's actually important for a man or a woman to be careful of what they wear. Take care of what they wear. So, because they narrated, the companions narrated what it looks like. And look at the hair, how it's being described, luxuriant hair. So it has that voluminosity, it has that depth. And you can see, like, the beard has depth, and the hair had depth, and it was curly. It wasn't too straight, and it wasn't too curly as well. It was for his texture and complexion, and whatever he was, it was the right mix.